Rise. For you, you are a nobody, like me. And like me also, you're no solution to the system. See, you must have missed them, G, busy on your beats. Because they sleep on your very streets, and they weep as your feet makes pavements creak. They whimper without a sound while you say you can't even spare a pound. If you're not gonna support them with P's, support them with deeds. Act on your creeds. Emancipate yourself by setting the homeless free. Be a source of unity in your community, B. Because I'm not saying you're worthless, please. I've just been there myself, begging on my knees. And I know the tears I weep led to heart-wrench when I sought sleep on my local park bench. So get up and rise. Make the homeless a bed. Because we all bleed the same shade of red. Because we all needed someone at some point in our lives. Rise.
The lens through which we're looking at things is of growth. Welcome to ʻdʌbl. I am the host. My name is Corey Williams. I am also a host of My Opinion Means Nothing, if you want to check that out. But we're here for ʻdʌbl today. Today on the show, I also have to my left.
I'm Q.
Capital Q.
Ayo, hey Q.
Ayo. Yeah.
Do you want to introduce yourself a little bit?
My name is Q. I am a poet, musician, and all-round badass with a good heart.
That's a dope intro.
Yeah.
And to my right,
My name is Felicia K. Felicia like bye Felicia. I am, just so everybody remembers, because I want to be remembered.
I know, right?
As you can tell from Cali. I'm a poet, an author, a community organizer, activator, and lover of people.
Hey,
Jeez.
there's a poem right there.
I know, right?
Yeah.
So today, people, we're going to be talking about the rise, which is about finding inspiration and how you go about doing that. Like, where do you look? Where do you look? That can be the first question. Where do you look, Felicia? When you're trying to find inspiration.
I think inspiration is all around. If I'm not connected enough to the world around me to look and see the inspiration around me, just in life and in people and the earth, then I look inside, try and find a truth that's hidden deep within myself. So I feel like I'm never without inspiration.
That's true.
Either I look out or I look in.
Yeah, that's pretty much.
You
said it
said
all
it
in
all,
one.
yeah.
Pretty much. Okay, we're done.
Yeah, I know, right?
We're done.
It's like I agree. That's
true.
what
No, I
feel.
think following on from that, like you find inspiration either outside yourself or inside yourself because it is all around you.
Yeah.
And I feel like we just have to get in the right mindset to receive that inspiration or to perceive it in the right way.
Yeah,
You know, it reminds me of the story of the blind men in the room with the elephant.
Yeah.
And one of them grabs the trunk, one of them grabs the leg, one of them grabs the tail, and they each describe a different thing that they're experiencing, but it's all one truth, you know, and they're all describing it in different ways. So I think inspirations like that too. We gotta develop our feel for it.
It's true. Like I find it in, like what you said, everywhere around me. Like I could be on the bus, just look out the window, I just see, I don't know, a bird, and it's just like, cool.
Yeah.
A light comes in my head, and I write that down. But like,
a lot of the time, they're also intrinsically linked to your experiences.
yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
It is. It
Kind of
is.
what you gravitate towards. That's true.
Yeah. But what happens when you're not connected to your surroundings around you, or you don't know? You say that everything's out there, but like we were speaking before, not all common sense is common. So like, where, like, if I was to lose my connection, what would I do? Is there a technique that I can use maybe to get myself back in line, or?
So I think when I look back in my life, I find the times where I've had lower ebbs, where I've been quite desensitized to things around me. So really all I've needed is a really good cry and to feel more. And I think feeling more allows us to open up to things around us and see things in different ways.
That's true.
And I think, being in touch with yourself is really important to always find inspiration and have that channel flowing.
It's true. You go through I went through like sadness, so then like I use that energy and the pain
Exactly
into like writing some dope poetry.
And it works.
Yeah,
it's
it
the
works.
most powerful poetry.
Yeah. What about you?
When I'm in a low place or I'm in a dark place, it's gonna sound cliche, but it's true. I pray, and I pray because it centers me in the version of myself that seeks God's perspective, which I feel like is a higher perspective, because it's like I can look at what I'm going through and what's going on around me from my own eyes, which are completely deluded the majority of the time, right? By my own expectations and my own this, but in prayer it like centers me, and so now instead of like looking at it from like this, I'm able to look down at it from a higher perspective, and by looking at it from a different perspective, it helps me to change the way I feel, or if not change the way I feel, give myself permission to feel it, but keep myself in order and in line too. So when I'm in those dark spaces, I pray or I write a poem, and then I pray after the poem because it might come out a little rough.
Sometimes you have to write a poem about not finding inspiration, but then that's the inspiration itself. It's about maybe being creatively orientated. To always, as Biggie says, turn a negative into a positive.
Turn a negative into a positive. That's.
And then what do you do like if you just can't write? Then like maybe it's not a block, but like you can you're receiving the inspiration that's around you. You can see it, but then when you try and get to the page, it's just not coming out. I don't know.
There's a saying, it goes, what we learn by doing.
Yeah, it's true.
So there's an element, and the hardest step is the first step.
Yeah.
But once you flow, like last year at Poetical Word, we had the amazing lady poet lead some writing sessions for us. And she taught me so much about how free writing can help you develop your writing style and your own voice. So in the beginning, I was writing for about 5 or 6 lines of just rubbish or just faff. I'm trying to write something, but I don't know what to write. But then after that, there's something happened in my brain where I was starting to process what I'm saying, and I wanted things to be more meaningful. And then what came out was one of the best pieces of free writing that I've ever done. And I have Lady Poe to thank for that. So if you're watching, thank you for that. We should do some more. But yeah, I mean, I think forcing yourself is the first point. I mean, I do athletics, and it's really difficult to get myself out there in every session every day. But once I start, there's a flow which is like I'm in this, and I think that it's across the board like that with writing and creativity.
I've never tried to force myself into writing. I just like, if I can't do it, I'm just like, well.
But you know this writer, one of my favorite writers, shout out to Jahaz Zinabu from Los
Jahaz
Angeles. Jahaz Zinabu was one of my favorite poets from LA. She said something that has stuck with me. She said, I don't believe in writer's block. I just believe you're unwilling to be honest with yourself. So there's an emotion in it, like, I don't want to let this out. And there might be a fear, apprehension towards letting it out, because, I mean, it might be really bad, or it might be really sad. It might be an emotion that you haven't given yourself, or society hasn't given you permission to feel. And so letting that emotion have its way can feel reckless.
Yeah.
So you just hold it, you know what I mean? Or it could be fucking crazy, you know what I mean? And you like, yo, you know what I mean? Like, I remember, I did this workshop at this space back at home, and it was some stuff that was coming out that was wild, you know what I mean? But you could be afraid of letting all of that crazy stuff that's going on in your head out, because somebody else might look at it like you're crazy.
Yeah.
But it's like it's gotta get out, because I feel like even with depression, I feel like depression is suppression. Like there's a truth that you're suppressing, and it's trying to get out.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's there, it just takes a little bit of courage and prompting. Like what really helps me too is I'm extroverted, introverted, which they call there's a word for that too. They got now, but I'm people driven. So sometimes when I get in a rut, like I had a friend back at home. Like before I used to do these little workshop things, she was like, okay, just talk. Cause she knew, but I didn't think about it at the time. Shout out to my girl Donna, yo. Cause she used to, before class, she used to be like, yo, talk to me. And it's crazy because I would answer my own issues and I just needed to talk. So when I'm talking to people, it's a part of my own process because I'm extroverted. I'm more on the extroverted side. So talking to people actually helps me come to my truth. So isolation doesn't really work for me, or solitude doesn't really work for me as a part of inspirations. I need the social part, the social aspect. So talking to like-minded folks really amps me up.
Just going to a poetry event, just in general, I feel really inspired from just hearing other people speak and like listening to their truths being laid out for me, and just thinking, wow, I didn't even think about it that way. You know, like that really inspires me. There's so many events that I come to, like even PW. I come to them. I'll go home on the train and I'm thinking about something. I'm like, shit, I'm gonna, damn, I'm gonna write that.
Yeah. I think one of the things when we're talking about the rise is how do you put things into place to ensure that you have a level of consistency in your writing.
Yeah.
And with everything in life, consistency is key, right? So I think maybe like picking an open mic that you'd go to every single month and make that your staple for like a whole year, and then see what comes out from that.
Yeah, that's true.
A lot of the time we have to just try and build a skeleton model and then let life clothe it with flesh.
To be honest, that's what I literally did. Like when I first found like open mics, like my first event that I ever went to was one at the Poetry Cafe, Poetry Unplugged, I think it's called. And I went there and I was just like, okay, cool. There was a lot of seasoned poets that were there, and it was nice to just perform in front of them for the first time after my other open mic, and just like speak to them afterwards, like, was this good? Like, what do you think? Like, give me creative like criticism. Like, I want to get better. But like it really helped. And then like afterwards I found Chocolate Poetry Club, and I literally just went there every month for like a very long time. And if I didn't go to an event, I literally just went there the next time. And then I met Minnie, and then she introduced me to PW, and then it's just afterwards I was like, I need to get out there and go to other events because it's helpful to be inspired from other areas and see what like other people are bringing, because although it's nice to go to the every month one, I love coming to them. It's just I feel like I don't know, like you need to share your voice with other platforms.
I think it's a really great way to if someone's in a period of a low ebb creativity, the light at the end of the tunnel may look like this. It may look like going to open mics and promising yourself that you'll go there, because the inspiration's there.
That's
we
true.
have we have the virgin poets with shaky voices and their papers are rattling, and they're out there being bold.
That's what I mean.
And there was this quote, I can't remember, paraphrasing here, when you're fearlessly yourself, you give other people permission to do the same. And those people give the most encouragement to us when you see them. At Poetical Word a couple of months ago, we had someone who came from the Autism Hounslow group in our barn community in Hounslow, and she could hardly verbalize her work. She was quite physically impaired, and so she came up on the mic and hardly anybody understood what she was saying, but the audacity, the boldness to come on stage was so encouraging that some of the people cried in the audience because of seeing that. And if that's not gonna motivate you, then you ain't human. There's something wrong with you.
For real, yeah. I remember seeing that.
Like
that was really powerful.
I think there's just nothing more beautiful than seeing another human being on stage being vulnerable. That's just the most beautiful thing you could ever see, because just for that person to let you in like that, it's just
I think that's a beautiful part about art too. The beautiful and the sacrificial part about art is that you're making yourself vulnerable to a room full of strangers. And it's hard avalanches sometimes.
Yeah, because you don't know how they're going to take it, and you have to be okay with however they react.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Justifying most people's nerves.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so true.
I think I mean, nature provides us so many beautiful examples of how to rise. And when we look at an example of the caterpillar and the butterfly, for example, that entire process, it kills the caterpillar, but it transforms him or her, into something which is the most beautiful thing, you know. And as a creative who's experienced like the lows of creativity, you feel like the caterpillar. You know your death is in front of you, but if you embrace it fully and you emerge a fly, and you know, I know every caterpillar in the world goes to sleep and he dreams of flight every single night, and he wishes and he hopes and he knows that this is his destiny, but he also knows the furnace to which he's going to be put into and what that's going to mean, so he willingly does it. When Khalil Gibran says, when love beckons to you, follow him even though his ways are hard and steep. You know,
that's beautiful.
Creativity.
I wonder if the caterpillar knows that it's supposed to be a butterfly, or if it just knows that it's going to go its next process. Like if it knows the full picture, like, oh, I'm going to fly one day, or if it's just like, you know, I just got this feeling that I'm supposed to go in this cocoon.
Yeah.
You just go to sleep and you wake up one day.
Because at least it doesn't know the process. Because I feel like life is so different too sometimes. Because it's like, especially for me, you know, to be like, you know, I come from a family that's like boom, boom, boom. Okay, step 1, 2, 3, and I'm like, yo, I just got this feeling. Like, you know, like what you talking about? You got a feeling. Man. You know, I'm a caterpillar. You know, I just got this feeling I'm supposed to go in cocoon for 3 months. You know what I mean? I know it sounds crazy, but I just feel like I'm supposed to go in this cocoon. You know what I mean? I don't know what's gonna happen though.
I feel like the caterpillar sees other caterpillars turning into butterflies, and he has hope that he will also go through that journey. And in the same way, us creatives, we know other creatives are getting the holes and we have low ebbs, but we eventually rise.
That's true.
Yeah.
And we should all, I think, remember that and know that and be encouraged by that the fall is there. It's via negativity. We only know health through illness.
Yeah.
The same thing. We only know how raw we can be in the arts by the depths to which we plunder. And there's a saying which goes, the greatest of characters are saved by the deepest of scars. So that's also, you rise by acknowledging our scars.
We do.
And just knowing, I think that each moment isn't the totality of my human experience. Like even though I'm having a low moment, I'll come out of this moment. I've come out of this moment before. A multitude of times I've survived these moments and these lows before, and I will rise because I have before. I think it's counting the wins too, like going back and counting the wins. Like, yo, like I've slayed some Goliaths for real. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's true. It's important to just look back of what these blips that you go through in life and kind of see what you can take from it, as opposed to the negatives of what actually happened. Like what you can use to inspire your next creative venture.
You can't change the wind, but you can adjust the sails.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, that's so true. And I think having the right people around you too.
Yeah.
Because when you think about it, like it's almost like, you know, like being stuck on an island by yourself. You know what I mean? Like the tools that you left with, like pick your tools wisely, because you will be stuck in that damn forest for a minute, like, and you don't want to be sitting there thinking, like, you know what I mean, like, damn, I sure wish I would have chose a fire stick instead of this blanket, you know what I mean, like, and it's like when life gets to its most primitive state, like, it's extremely essential, you know, the people that you have around you, that they lift you up and that they reflect the highest version of yourself, you know what I mean? Because there's been times where my friends have like literally, you know, to this day, I call them, they like, yo, I can hear it in your voice, what's going on, and I just, and when I let it out, you know what I mean? It's like they pump life back into me, you know what I mean? And they've literally resuscitated my spirit and I've been so grateful of those decisions I've made. You know what I mean, with those people. You know, so I think that's an essential part of rising too, is having, you know, people that got good gas. You know, good cars with good gas.
For me, in athletics, for example, one of the first things I think of is, has it been done before? You know, and it has. And I go into the stories of how athletes have achieved what they have, and I'm like, I can do it too. You know, and that encourages me. It doesn't actually debilitate me. I get a lot of encouragement from that. And I think, what was it saying? Life is 90% what happens, or 10% what happens to you, and 90% how you react to it.
Yes.
A lot of it happens to what our reaction to stuff is.
Yeah.
So when I look at athletes and I'm like, they've reached the highest heights, but they're just human, and so am I. And I can also achieve those heights if I try. I just have to show up. You know, in the same way, we got to show up, as you mentioned, to the highest version of ourselves, and rise, because people have done it before, and it's possible to do it again. And I think it's part of the mantle of being a human being that we rise.
Yeah, that's so true.
And also, remember that everyone's unique as well. So although someone else has done it before, no one else is going to do it in the way that you do it.
Yo, it's true.
So it's like, that's one thing that people fail to remember, that, oh yeah, someone else is doing this. No, they may be doing the same thing, but they're doing it slightly different, because no one, unless they're twins, and even if they're twins, it's still going to be a slight difference, you know? So
consistency too. You mentioned something about consistency too, and I've actually thought about this before, and wondering if it's a need to be consistent, if we're already consistent. There's just little things that kind of come in and kind of block us off of our consistency. You know what I mean? Kind of like a train that's already consistent and has a certain amount of momentum going forward. It's just that something comes up and blocks it. You know what I mean? And I wonder, just that as human beings, if we're already motivated and driven, it's just that something comes in and blocks. You know what I mean? And I think that block can seem like an issue, but it's really not. I think it's a part of adding to the momentum, maybe. You know what I mean?
There's a saying that goes, everyone has a goal which dominates him. Everyone has a motive that they go towards, whether it be bad or good or productive or unproductive or just debilitating or anything. It's just, everyone has a motive that you go towards, and it's that momentum of life that everyone wakes up with something to do during the day, and it's like, this is what I gotta get done today, or this is what's happening today. Even if that thing is nothing, if you're gonna do nothing for the day, it's something that you're doing nothing for the day. You know, and it's this constant internal conversation that we have in our brains with ourselves about reconciling our beliefs and idealisms with what happens in the universe. And then essentially what happens is, you know, there's something which happens outside of our bodies, which is in the universe, and there's something which happens inside our bodies, which is its own universe. And sometimes what happens inside our bodies affects and influences what happens outside. And sometimes what happens outside affects and influences us. So life is in a way a peak and a valley, and troughs, peaks and troughs of a wave. Both are co and interdependent of each other. And I feel like once we understand that, we can traverse through life and we can get this momentum, and we can, all of the like barriers that come in the way, which is bumps in the road, and they're just like always like clearings of the bush, like clearings of a bush that you see. You're going on a train journey, and all of a sudden there's a field that opens up and a beautiful view, and you see that. Or like, I always think of the Matrix, the first Matrix movie, when Neo and Trinity, or that's not the first one, it's one of them, where they're in the ship and they're going towards the source, and they're going towards the map, and they break out into the clouds, and then there's this beautiful moment of like peace, and then they go back down into the madness. That's a lot like creativity, where there's mostly madness, but then the parts where you get into this space, it's bliss and it's amazing, and that's a blessing and a curse, right?
True.
It's
90% madness.
It is.
You sit there with thoughts and you write it down, and you're like,
I'm
not sure if I can share this with people, but I'll try. I'll try.
Otherwise known as the iceberg theory. Right.
That part. Yeah, the iceberg theory.
I think finding inspiration, getting out of it is possible. think every artist and creator should know that they can do it.
Yeah.
I think they should also know that there's an entire community out there that is here to lift you up as a creative, and all you have to do is have the courage to go there. And there are people, I mean, creators, we're hypersensitive. We have emotional intelligence beyond most people, and we can tell when something's not right with something.
Yeah.
And you know, the right people come at the right time, at the right place,
Yeah,
when you're in the
100%.
right
Yeah.
zone.
Everything happens for a reason. And you just have to let that reason sit in, but you never find out what the reason is straight away. You find out what it is sometime in the future when you can just be like, oh, that happened, but now I get it. But
Yeah.
hindsight is,
Yeah. When you look back on your life, you can connect all the dots to where you are now.
exactly.
But when it comes to going forward, all you can do is have faith.
100%.
Yeah.
Because the trajectory will continue, as it will.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that's also very, very important to mention is if you're looking as a creative to get out of a hole that you're in, and you're looking for inspiration and you're looking to rise, aka the Phoenix phenomenon, right? You need to be eating right, you need to be sleeping right, you need to be drinking enough water and keeping yourself hydrated. These three things are the holy trinity of mental stability. Because if you're not functioning on a neurological way, a biological way, physiological way, how you should be, how God or the world has designed you to be, then you can't expect yourself to be at your highest heights and playing at your A game. So going back to basics is really important, and I think mentioning it is as a reminder to all of our creative family around the world is quite potent, because a lot of the time we forget, like I forget, I'm an athlete, I forget to hydrate myself, you know. I'm only around 53% hydrated these days, you know.
Yeah. No, that's true.
What about like something? This is something that we were talking about before the podcast, but like allowing yourself time to rest as well as being always working and active and trying to create. There's times when you need to kind of just relax and reflect so that you can push forward again. But you need to but it's like the point that you're making about going back to basics, taking care of yourself. It's all part of your taking care of the physical and mental of your well-being.
You can't pour from an empty cup, right?
Yeah. And that rest is important too, because sometimes too in that space too, what I had to learn was that even for growing up, from my childhood, there was internal voices that were built in that I had to replace with other voices. There was a voice of that was just really, militant. You know what I mean? There were people that I was raised around that were kind of militant, and so it was like this constant, like a drill sergeant. You know what I mean? So I had to learn over time how to override that voice, and how to be gentle with myself and kind and fix that space, because sometimes that space of rest, there is no rest in that space because there's so many like internal voices that are combative, and so sometimes I think it's getting to that space, fixing up a little bit, so that when you enter into that space of rest, you can actually rest. You just sometimes still trying to get to.
Rest is hard, like, cause you can do it like for maybe, I don't know, a couple of hours or so, but then you get like into a patch of like, okay, I'm doing this, but like what there's other things happening, there's other things I could be doing, but like it's just about getting your mind to just switch off. Because
we live in such a busy world too. It's always go. Everything is always go. Everything is always go. We live in a world that's like go. iPhone. They got a new iPhone out every week. You know what I mean? It's like, damn, like I just got it. I just got it. Like I just got it. Like, okay, I know you just updated, but we got the 7.5. It's like, damn.
When's it gonna stop? When is it gonna stop?
It's almost like when they create it, it's like they create 3 versions at a time. You know what I mean? And it's like, we live in a world like that. I mean, it's hard to just rest when you start thinking like, well, who's resting? Apple ain't damn sure ain't resting. You know, like Apple is not resting.
That's so true.
But there's like, probably thousands of workers that are doing that. And it's like, I'm just one person. I'm just one person. I think environment though, and I say this a lot too, I think environment is important too, because it's like when I think about because as you guys were talking, I got a picture of this plant or like this flower. And in order for a flower to properly produce, it needs sunlight, but it also needs the nutrients from the ground, so that the environment that it's drawing from is important as much as it's getting the proper sunlight, which is, I look at it spiritually as just God, the proper relational conversation and communication between God and then your environment, what are you abstracting from it, you know what I mean? And just having both of those levels too, I think. So so it's all comes to the rise.
I think like nature gives us so many beautiful examples to use in our life.
Oh yeah.
And a lot of the time, if you're looking to rise out from a place of darkness, you could go for a walk. It's something which it's a cliche, right? Going for a walk. But it served me so well in my darkest times. When I was going through a period of depression, I went for a walk because I was like, I've tried everything. And you know what? I'm going to give this a go. Because if this doesn't work, then I've tried everything. So I went for a walk and it's changed my whole life, changed my perception of things. I saw a tree which was dead and another plant growing out from it. And that, I was like, yo, I just went for a walk, yo. And it switched up how I'm looking at my situation. I'm about to grow with the strength that this little branch is growing from this dead tree. That it's got the same strength of that tree that's died, that is growing with it. It's mightier than every other sprouting, tree in the area, because it comes with that in the background. And that sublime was peaked all through just going for a walk. So if someone wants to look to rise after falling, then go for a walk. It might change your life.
Could I, when you go on your walks, do you listen to music or do you not listen to music?
I mean, I don't go regularly on walks,
no,
but I mean, when I do, it's not with anything.
No, I think that's important. That's what I was gonna say.
Open.
You have to be not connected. You have to be unplugged.
Unplugged. Yeah, man, absolutely.
That's a poem by itself.
Definitely.
It's also like a transition too, because when you get up for a walk, you're moving from one space into another one. You know.
All of not all of that. I'm talking just from some of the authors that I've read in spiritual texts. They'll go for walks. It's part of their daily routine, and it helps the thinking process. Great thinkers always go for walks in the past, if you look it up. So it has this ticking thing, Johnny Walker, keep walking. We gotta keep going forward, and that taking one step by step drives us forward. We take one day at a time. And we live it as if it was our last. And then we go forward and we keep on going. But we do not stop. We do not stop. We do not stagnate. Because any stagnant water starts to smell.
Yeah. Rise.
I think the rise is pretty. It's difficult, but it's also the most exciting part of the whole creative process, where you can really embody your take on and address everything, or some of the lessons that you have learned in the fall. When you address all of those things,
it's kind of like the direction of these podcasts is kind of interesting and it's kind of beautiful, because elements of the fall kind of ebb into the rise, because some of the conversations we're having today are kind of similar to the stuff that we were talking about last month.
Yes.
So obviously it's literally, because you're talking about, like, I'm even thinking about something that Scard was saying last month about balance. Like, even balance is important within the rise, because if you're not balanced in connection with what's going on and yourself, and then what's also outside of you, then you can't be inspired or be able to take in the inspiration to let it out, or to be open enough to let it out, because it's all about being open, I think. Because balance. Like,
that's a good point. How do you find balance?
I don't know. Like, I guess it's kind of about what is the word? I can't think of the word.
I guess you kind of have to know your center too.
Yeah, that's true.
In order to find balance, because you can't find balance if you don't know your center.
Yeah, that's true. What is your center? Where do you find your center? I don't know. I guess my center would be at home with my family. That's where I feel safe mostly. But then I also have my outside family, my friends' family, and the spaces that I feel safe in outside of my home life. So anywhere that I feel safe, I call home. Like PW is home to me, because when I perform there, I just feel like I can share anything, because it's a very safe space and everyone's about community. It's a community space, and like everywhere it's not every space I perform in that I feel that kind of family energy from, you know.
I know what you mean.
But it's nice to know that I have these homes like that, like, 'cause otherwise I would be lost out there. It's like, it's nice to know that you have a home away from home.
Yeah, I think there's like touching on the center point. There's the physical center point, which is about 3 inches below your navel, which is the center of your your physical body, and then there's the mental center, which is your home, as you mentioned, and then there's the psychological center and spiritual center, right? So there's different centers of our being, which makes us exactly. Right? And we're if we're aligned with each of those, we experience well-being and the general sense of wellness and goodness and health and vitality. And I think that first thing we need to do is be aware of them, that they exist. Only then we can try and go towards them. And I think knowing there's different facets to our experience here on earth, being mental, physical, and those combined meaning spiritual, then we can start thinking about ways that we can program ourselves. And no flat pack furniture comes without instructions, right? So there's theory and there's practice. So we need to figure this thing out. We've been here for like 7 billion years on Earth, right?
Can't figure out.
And like, it's the big questions that we all have. Like,
what's the meaning of life?
The biggest question is, who am I? That we're all trying to answer.
And I think that's what it is too. Like that, who am I? Because like when I think of center, that's what I think. You know what I mean? But it took me time to get to that point where it's like, okay, at my core and at my center, who am I? Am I? And then once I found that, now it's like, okay, well, I know the things and the people that bring me to that space. Kind of like what you said, like with family. Like when I'm around my family, it's not just that like that's at your center, but it also like there's a version of you that's kind of like your most authentic self. And when you're there, when you're around those people, that's when you're more comfortable being like all of you. You know what I mean? Exactly. And I think once we get to a point, like as humans, as creatives too, but where we know who we are, then it's like now I can balance myself out because I know I have a scale to in the middle that tells me when I'm off balance. You know what I mean? So now because I know who I am, when I'm off balance, it's like, oh, okay, I know what I got to do to get back to. I know who I got to call. I know what I got to do to get back to. You know what I mean? My center. But I think that when you don't know that too, that can be really detrimental. When you don't know your center, you don't know who you are at your core. Then you end up just kind of really just continually imbalanced until you find a center.
While you were talking, I remembered a quote which goes, "A rising tide lifts all boats." So one good habit lifts all others. So when we're talking about lifting ourselves and rising ourselves from the darkness, we should try and look at what it is in our life that we can do that on a daily basis, like one level up from yesterday. And that will serve as a bedrock for other things to then make progress too. Because we feel good only when we make progress as a human being. So look at what in your life. If you drank 1 glass of water today, drink 2 tomorrow, and I guarantee you'll feel better. So a rising tide lifts all ships. Some real powerhouses like in this podcast today. So
it's true.
Real
A rising
nuggets.
tide lifts all. That's it's a whole poem. That's a whole poem.
So, what do you think we can take away? I've been noting things down throughout the episode, but what are the things that you think that we can take away from the rise? Like, I've noted down so far consistency. You need to remember to be unique. You need to have a good community around you. You need to remember to go back to basics and take care of yourself. And you have to have a good environment. Like, it's not just the community, but like outside of where you're going, and a good headspace. anything else that you think we can add to that?
Yeah, I think knowing that there's support out there goes a long way.
Yeah.
And I think I know for a fact Poetical Word is one of the most supportive groups of like poetry groups in London out there. Everyone who comes down mentions how encouraging that it is. So I'd recommend that if someone's going through some hardship, who's finding something troubling, to come down to Poetical Word and then to just jump on the mic, or not even jump on the mic, just come and eat some
Just
cake.
come and listen, yeah.
It's free cake, yo. What other open mic does that?
Yeah.
Free cake, yo.
Free. Free.
It's true, but like literally just come down and listen. You'll walk away inspired, I guarantee.
Yeah. I think have something to rise to, something that you're fighting for. You know, for me in my life, you know, God's given me this vision of the people on my boat, and I can see their eyes, and the attachment and the love and the responsibility I feel because of that love and that attachment keep me driven, because I don't want to let them down. And so, you know, and so in my low moments, I remember, you know, those eyes. I remember who I'm fighting for. I remember who's looking at me and expecting me to make it to this other side. Otherwise, they don't either. So if you're not conscious of who's looking at you, understand that we all got, no matter how big or small, we all have somebody that's looking up at us and depending on us to be who we're supposed to be. Otherwise, they can't. There's a group of people we're all leading. And so in those moments, you know, when you are coming from the fall to the rise, understand that you're not just rising for yourself, that you're rising for other people, that you're rising for the next generation that's coming after you, you know, that you're rising to a higher purpose, because humanity needs you and you're here for a reason, and understanding that too. So
like your reason is always bigger than yourself, and it's like you said, like people watching you, it's like it's kind of smaller than a bigger thing. Like it could just be like you've told someone that, okay, cool, I'm gonna go and do this poetry thing now, or I'm gonna go and be an actor now, or I'm gonna go become a dancer now. And they were like, all right, cool, I'm gonna look out for you. And the next time you see them, they're gonna ask you how you're doing. And if it's not something up from where you were before, they're gonna kind of feel like, oh, well, he's not really serious on that. So, and so it's kind of like, it's not like you have to be impressing people, but it's like impress yourself. Like, or even give yourself goals. Like I was talking about that the other day. I don't set myself goals, like even like maybe like 5-year goals or 10-year goals, or like just something to aspire to. So even if you don't make it, once you get there, you can readjust. So like, all right, cool, I didn't do this and this, but I did this and this. So next time, in the next couple of years, I wanted to be able to do this and this that I didn't do before. Like, it's just something to look forward to. It's like, something to look forward to. You need something to look forward to. Otherwise, you're just out there floating. Like, I can just see this in my head, this spinning top. And it's just spinning, and do you know, like when it's slowly going out and it's just going all over the shop, but then it stops, and it needs someone to pick it back up and then spin it again, so it's back.
Just spin it, Because I always look at it like, because we're leaning into like purpose. Because I always say, like, you know, when people say like, well, how do I find my purpose? I say, well, it's equivalent to like working for a company and going to this event that you're working, and you have to find the director so that they can tell you, hey, you know, what am I supposed to be doing? Otherwise, I'm just kind of wandering around the event. You know what I mean? And if I don't find, you know what I mean? If I haven't found the director yet, my first job, if I haven't found my purpose, that's my purpose is to find it.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, until I find it, you know.
Until you find it, and everyone has one. Like, don't know until you find it or until you look. You know.
When you mentioned this top spinning, I had an amazing thought in my head I want to share with you. So if you spin a top on a platform, it eventually stops. But if the platform itself is spinning faster than the top, does it stop?
I don't know. That's an interesting.
Because where's the friction in the stopping and the slowing of the top?
Because it wouldn't have any.
I feel like the community we surround ourselves with acts as the spinning force on the base of our creative energy. And we have to just worry about keeping ourselves straight. And let the momentum carry us. And it will, because this is the path of art and creativity. There's ebbs and flows, peaks and valleys, there's side roads, there's hairpin roads, there's ups and downs. but it's always a continual progress.
Yeah.
And if you've made it to today, you're still alive, then you got something
it's true.
greater to look forward to going forward.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
Love and
going?
trust. Yeah. Love
Yeah,
and
where
trust.
we
You literally need to love and trust the people around you that they are going to support you.
And if they don't, then you need to get a new circle.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
I'm talking to you.
We're living in some of the most exciting times of our generation, with what's happening with all of the different climates around us. And I think now to be a creative is one of the most freeing and emancipating times that we can. So we got to come together. We've got to support each other, and we've got to always look for the bright things, the brighter side of life. Where the grass is greener on both sides, right?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And another thing, everyone's creative. Every single person in this world is creative because human beings are creative.
Creators.
Yeah, we create things.
Yeah.
You know, from coding to performing on a stage, it's all creating. Even making whatever you're making in just the idea of it's a creation.
Even conversation is creative.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because you don't know where it's gonna go.
Yeah.
And then wherever it does go, you're just like, oh, I didn't even know it was gonna go there. I wasn't even thinking like that. Now my whole world's been changed. Yeah. So yeah. I guess I'll leave with a quote for this episode, which is by Maya Angelou, and it goes like this: "We delight in the beauty of the butterfly, but we rarely admit the changes it has gone through to achieve that beauty."
Maya.
And now my final question for you guys is, what question do you have, or what thing do you have to leave your future self?
I leave my future self a deep look in the eye, like you did it. You did it. You did it. like you did it. You fought through all of that. To God be the glory for everything. But kudos to you for being obedient and for making the necessary sacrifices to get there. Cause you're gonna get there.
Jeez. I was thinking along the same lines. Like, you made it, dog. You know? You had that mindset, you had the vision, you had the dream, you had the goal, and you pursued it relentlessly like a juggernaut. And you got there. I'm proud of you. Yeah.
And have any of you other guys got anything to parting words to leave?
Yeah, I would say parting words is this. For anyone who's struggling to go through any hardships, your heart has kept you alive since you were born, and it has never stopped rooting for you. So why do you stop rooting for you?
Jeez. I don't know, Q. I don't know. Oh, God. Whoa.
Come on.
Oh, yo.
Truth, yo.
Felicia.
What are you here for? And who are you fighting for? What are you here for and who are you fighting for?
And I'm just going to say goodbye because I don't have anything to say. That was deep as... Wow. Do you know in those moments when it feels like someone's speaking to you, but they're just speaking out loud? I don't know, Q.
I love you, man. I love you so much.
And with that, I'll say goodbye. Bye, guys.
Peace out.